Society wants to ban the manosphere. Society wants to ban the manosphere. It's pretty interesting. 30 years ago, George Carlin figured it out and laid it out for us. He's been telling us for the last 40 to 50 years exactly what they're doing and what they're up to. If you look at how women are operating in society right now, women in society want the manosphere silenced, not because of misogyny, but because the manosphere is leading men to develop critical thinking skills and asking questions that they don't want to be asked. Watch the end of the video to understand entirely why society wants to ban the manosphere. And now let's just go ahead and jump right into the video.
The politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. You know something? They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security.
Guys, see, Social Security, that was far that was something coming, but guess they're coming for your 401k. They're coming for your 401k. You have to remember that the boomers own 80% of the stock market. 80% of the stock market is owned by the boomers, and a lot of their retirement funds are directly invested in the stock market. So as soon as they start pulling out that money, as soon as they start retiring and pulling that money out, the stock market's going to take a nosedive. George Carlin figured it out years ago. He understood what was happening, guys. The only ones who can stand up to tyranny are men. Okay? We live in a society where women are extremely masculine. We have very masculine women who believe that they are the powerful ones in society. They believe that they built society. They believe that men have held way too much power in society for far too long. And men, and patriarchy has stolen every idea from women. If it were up to women, and this is exactly how they believe and they act, they believe that everything created by men has had a woman behind it. They would say that computers were created by men. All computers were created by women. All technology was created by women. Everything was inspired by women. If it were up to them, they would remake and rewrite the entire world to be in the image of a woman. This is how they operate. This is one of the reasons why when you have the sim pastors who are saying don't try to understand women. The thing is that when men begin to understand women, they no longer want to have a relationship. They no longer want to speak to them. They no longer want to protect them. They want to walk away. Because when men understand how women think and how women actually operate, men realize that we are dealing with a circumstance that you just cannot win. It turns men off mentally, it turns men off physically, turns men off emotionally. They are so taken back, in some cases so disgusted, so furious that they just decide to walk away and say they want to have nothing to do with relationships anymore. The truth of the matter is that the manosphere has nothing to do with misogyny. And the fact and states, the governments, they know that the manosphere has nothing to do with misogyny. No, the reason why they want to ban the manosphere is because they know that in the manosphere we have critical thinking occurring. We have men coming together to figure out what's going on. We have lots of discussions. We have all of this knowledge. Individually, we don't know everything, but collectively, we have bits and pieces of knowledge that we can share amongst one another. And if there's one thing that men are good at, it's checking the fucking math. Guys, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. I've always said this about crypto. You don't have to be afraid when you're talking about crypto or doing calculations for stuff, because don't worry, bro. Even as long as you have the concept, you're okay when you're with a group of men. Because even if you mess up on the math a little bit, don't worry. There's some dude checking the math. There's some dude checking the math. This is this is the biggest thing about men. There's always some dude checking the math. I learned it when I was in the cryptocurrency community. All right, because I was there checking the math right along. All right, and there were other men. Everybody's checking the math. I can't. I get stressed out sometimes. All right. I get stressed out sometimes, and even if I don't want to check the math, there's always some joker. There's always some bastard checking the math. It doesn't matter how he's doing it. He's checking the damn math. All right. So you have to understand, in the manosphere, that's the big problem. They know that you have men who are checking the math. You know that you have men who are coming together and discussing where money comes from and how money works. They're discussing the state and how the state operates. They're discussing how men are treated. They're coming to the conclusion and realizing, hey, we don't have rights. We have privileges, all right, that can be taken away at any time. Our society does not operate based on the Constitution. No, no, no. Those are a list of privileges that can be taken away at any time. Our society operates on policies, all right? The policies of the state. The policies of the state trump the Constitution. It's only when, guys, these people, the police officers, members of law enforcement, they are not there to serve and protect you. They are there to enforce the will of the state and to protect the will of the state. Think about it very carefully. You go and you camp out on public land. They come and they will remove you from public land. That doesn't make any sense. Public land is supposed to be there for the use by the people. And yet the state will remove you if you have nowhere else to go. Even if you go all the way out to the woods, and they'll just straight up tell you that, yeah, if we allow you to be out here, then everyone else would be doing it. This land is not owned by you. This land is owned by the state. Okay? The state, you are handled by the state. You are basically, you are overseen by the state, but this is not your land. Okay? The state is designed to extract wealth and resources from you until the end of your days. You must have nothing in Western society. That's how the state operates. You must own nothing. You never really truly own anything, because when you have property taxes, you're always paying property taxes for the rest of your life. And you're always, guys, they tax you from the moment you are born to the moment you pass away. You are being taxed in one way or another. Okay? It is not free to come into this world. I want you guys to think about this very carefully. We don't really have midwives anymore or anything like that. There is a tax. There is a tax to be born into this world. You have to go to the hospital, and you have to, and the doctors and the nurses, and it's going to cost a ton of money. Guys, there's a tax just to be born. Even to leave this world, even for a pregnancy to be, come to an end, there's a tax. Nothing is free. If you go back years ago, you had family members and so forth that could help deliver babies, and not anymore, guys. All of those things are gone. We have to pay for everything. The only ones who can stop tyranny are men, okay? Men are the protectors of society, and men are the ones who fight tyranny. So how do you allow tyranny to grow and foster within a nation? It's quite simple. You have to get rid of the men. All right? You have to destroy the men. So how do you destroy the men? Well, if you want to destroy a country, you destroy the men. To destroy the men, it's quite simple. You use the women to destroy the men. But here's the interesting thing. As men walk away from society and from relationships in society, an interesting phenomenon occurs. Because as more men walk away and as more men turn their backs on society, it starts to become a little bit more difficult to police society, because men are also the ones who facilitate society. they keep society going. Without enough men to keep society going and to do the will of society, then you run into a problem. Then you run into an issue where you can no longer protect yourself. You see, the state, no matter what the state likes to say, the state needs the state needs men to actively protect the state and protect the interest of the state. So the members of the military, you need a strong military to protect your interests. The state's military is crap right now. We are undergoing what we call a demoralization process. And you know what ended up happening? It worked too well. It absolutely worked too well. What are the consequences? Now, if you look at it, while they are still trying to destroy men, they're also trying to drag men right back. Dragging, that's why you have the simps, agents of the state, that are shaming men for walking away, calling men incels for walking away and not getting into relationships. It's basically you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But I'm telling you right now, you're going to see the hell on earth that erupts. They're already calling for a mandatory draft for a draft in the Pentagon, which would require mandatory military service. They're already calling for a new draft that would require mandatory military service. And the purpose of this is not so that we can prepare for war. It's because the military is so depleted right now that it's close to breaking down. It's close to collapsing because there are too few people serving. All right. 50 years ago, we had almost 2 million people in our military reserves. 50 years later, in 2024, we have less than 200,000 people. Okay. Yet our nation has grown. Our budget has grown. Our needs to facilitate and protect have grown. The military serves more than a purpose than just fighting. The military also includes the Coast Guard. The military defends us and helps the nation in times of conflict. The military also is involved in cyber warfare and cyber crime and things along those lines. We do not have a strong military anymore. We cannot protect ourselves. We cannot help ourselves if there's a national crisis, a natural disaster, or anything that happens. We are basically balls to the wall. There's nothing we can do.
They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. And by the way, it's the same big club they used to beat you over the head with all day long when they tell you what to believe. All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Good, honest, hardworking people, white collar, blue collar, doesn't matter what color shirt you have on. Good, honest, hardworking people continue. These are people of modest means. Continue to elect these rich cocksuckers who don't give a fuck about them. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care.
They don't care. They don't care. It's a sad reality, and yet people still buy into the notion. No matter who wins in November, guys, we all lose. No matter who wins, we all lose. That's how society is structured. Guys, we have two parties. We get to choose from. We used to have more. We used to have like the Whigs and a bunch of others. Now we only have two. All right. We have the illusion of choice. The illusion of choice. All right. Just like that's why we have the Constitution. It gives us the illusion of freedom. Okay. If the Constitution was so powerful, if the Constitution was so highly regarded, police officers would have to know constitutional law. Notice police officers do not know constitutional law. The average police officer does not understand constitutional law. They know nothing about it. What they know are department policies. That's it. They know the policies within their departments, within their immediate area, but they do not know anything about the Constitution because they are not there to uphold the Constitution. And in many cases where they violate the Constitution, they are found to not be guilty of doing absolutely anything. All right. The state will basically just pay out tons of money sometimes as a result of the constitutional breaches, and then to say that they did absolutely nothing wrong. So they investigate themselves, they find themselves not guilty of anything, but they'll pay like $1 million out to settle any claims so that they can continue to go on with their criminal behavior. They are not there to protect you. They are there to protect the interest of the state, the property of the state. It's crazy because a lot of women believe that they are the state or that they have control over the state. All right, they don't comprehend that they are just tools. They're guys. Yuri basically referred to a lot of these individuals who think that they have this power over the state or they are partners with the state, and rather they are just useful idiots. And when I say Yuri, I'm talking about a Russian detractor who left Russia and basically talked about how America was being destroyed from the inside and we were in the demoralization phase. I've mentioned him a couple of times. But yeah, he said he refers to them as useful idiots. They are useful idiots. They think that they are in charge. They're not in charge. They think that they have power. They do not have power. Okay? It's usually the most powerless people who think that they are powerful. Okay? Women operate as agents of the state and they are rewarded for allocating wealth and resources from men to the state. They do this through criminal court. They do this through family court. They do this through divorce court. They do this through civil court. The state doesn't care how they do it, but the state will work with them no matter what to get money reallocated from men to the state. We were never free, guys. We are slaves. All right. Just because we don't have chains, just because we can come and go, does not mean that we are free. If you try to get rid of your your citizenship, it's not that easy. Think about this very carefully. Before you can renounce your citizenship, you have to basically have all of your taxes paid up. In other words, you can't break up with the United States of America unless you owe them if you owe them tax money. You're stuck. All right? What does that that's debt? That is a form of slavery. Next, you also have to pay the state large amounts of money to renounce your citizenship. Again, why is that? The average person barely can get by. The average person does not have this kind of money. And yet, you have to pay tons of money just to renounce your citizenship. All right? You have to pay to get rid of your citizenship. Guys, they own you. They own you and they give you the illusion of freedom. You were never free. And the boomers were in on it all along. They stole our futures while we were in diapers. They sold out society a long, long time ago. You're dealing with a group of absolute narcissists. It was all about me, 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 me. Give it to me. It's mine. This is something that George Carlin said himself. All right. He called them cold, calculating, bloodless, soulless individuals. It's so crazy because I have boomers messaging me leaving me terrible comments, making threats to me, or saying it's not all of us. And then if I just block them, now I have boomers coming for me on Twitter or X. Like, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. The boomers did this to themselves. They put themselves in the situation. I'm relatively a no one. I've got a small channel on YouTube. All right, I've got a couple thousand subscribers, but relatively, I'm a no one. They have no friends, and they're basically going around trying to silence anyone who speaks about them and who they are. They're all ending up homeless. Half of them have no retirement savings. Society is turned against them while they're still pillaging and wreaking havoc on everything. And the moment that you say, you talk about what they've done and how they've ruined the world around them, they basically go ballistic. And even if you try to avoid conversation with them, they'll come and they'll go to great lengths to reach you and condemn you. They're just like Gen Z. They take no accountability and they blame everyone. I had one boomer reach out to me just so he could say that it's not the fault of the boomers, it's the fault of immigrants. So a lot of these people, they're the OG racist. Okay? They will basically say the nastiest of things and blame other groups of people for the things that they themselves did. All right? This is how they are, guys. This is an extraordinary form of narcissism. I was raised by these people. They will never acknowledge anything they've done. And in fact, because Gen Z is such a nasty and horrible generation, they'll pat themselves on the back and say, well, we couldn't have done that bad. Look how horrible Gen Z is. So, we had to have done a great job because you turned out so great. They're horrible people. First, guys, first they bullied Gen X. Then they bullied Gen X. They bullied Zennials back in the 80s. That, all right, so said that we were all using drugs and that we were going to be the end of the world. We were the lost generation. All right, this is what they said about us. They had commercials on TV saying this is your brain on drugs with this little white girl that would grab a frying pan and smash it around the kitchen, destroying everything in there and breaking eggs. And like, do you have a question? These were people that had to be reminded that it's 10 o'clock at night. Do you know where your children are? That's who the damn boomers were. They are bad people. They could give less of a rat's ass about us, and all they thought about was their money. All right? Their money. So, of course, the boomers don't want the manosphere out there either because the boomers are part of the problem. The boomers never wanted critical thinking, they wanted obedient workers that would do as they're told, don't ask questions. This is the reason why boomers took home economics out. They didn't want us to understand money. This is the reason why they took shop out. They wanted us out of high schools. They wanted us to buy everything. All right. They didn't want us to know they didn't want us to know how to actually fix things. We learned how to measurements and all this other stuff, but they don't give us any opportunity to actually learn how to actually apply these things. People who succeed in this world, they basically succeed in spite of a terrible education system. But it wasn't always that way, guys. The boomers, when they went to school, it was the golden age of education. They had phonetics in their schools firmly. They had the Dewey Decimal System firmly. They had home economics. Guys, their gym classes were like epic. Like everyone was in shape. The food that they ate back then was much better than the food that we have now. It didn't have all this disgusting trans fats in it. The boomers are the ones who made the food the way it is today because they wanted to profit as much as they could. So they basically started creating artificial garbage and replacing natural things with trash, that makes us sick, but they don't care as long as they get their damn money. Society wants to ban the manosphere because it wants to keep people stupid, but men are walking away. And where we are headed right now is a society where more men begin to wake up and begin and ask critical questions. We're moving away from even discussing women, and women are increasingly becoming a non-issue or non-focus in the manosphere. All right, the focus now is basically on wealth building, self-development, and understanding the world around us. And that's why they want to stop it. That's why they want to silence it. And by the way, guys, if you're enjoying the content, join the Angry Guy Clubhouse. You can get some exclusive insights. You can get some support. You get access to our podcast. Got some great podcasts over there. And also, a free copy of the Digital Nomad Blueprint. That's pretty cool. That's brand new. Just put that over there for you guys. Click the link in the description to get started. What do you guys think regarding all of this? Society wants to ban the manosphere. Let me know your thoughts. We'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and share.